Oh, look, it does work.
Awesome.
Well, welcome to the Happy Hour podcast. We are getting to dive into week 10. We're going to give you some start recommendations. We're also going to do some midseason power rankings. If you're wondering where Ricky is, he is currently in Los Angeles at the AFI Film Festival. So if you want to follow him at @RickyValero_ on Twitter, he's going to be live dropping the films he's seeing and some of the reviews. He didn't leave us empty-handed. He did offer a few of his bets of the week for those of you that are interested in losing money. We'll have those later on. But for now, I'm hosting today. I'm Matthew Fox, and then fortunately today I'm joined once again by John. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How you doing, Matt?
Doing pretty good. Can't believe it's mid-November. Can't believe it's week 10. Hard to believe the NFL season's only halfway over right now since it goes till the middle of January now.
Yeah, I've got that, but I've also got how did we get here so fast? Because it doesn't seem like it's been 10 weeks.
Well, and, we're just coming off probably the most riveting NFL game possible last night to get kickstarted for week 10. So, Baltimore, the offensive juggernaut, rolling. Oh, wait, I forgot.
The Dolphins manhandled them.
Oh, man. I hope that's, week 9 featured a lot of curious results. I think I said this in our group chat. If somebody would have told me that the Broncos-Cowboys game would be 30-0 in the fourth quarter, I would have believed that. If they would have told me it would be 30-0 in favor of Denver, I probably would have had you committed. But that was just one of many weird results last week, and thought, well, surely it's 1 week. Well, based on last night, maybe not. There are some exceptional matchups, which we'll get to in week 10, but that did not give me a great deal of confidence.
Yeah, for sure. The Dolphins looked fantastic on defense. They were bringing, 7 every single time?
Yeah.
And, they were tackling, weren't really letting them get big plays. They won the game. They scored the first touchdown, and then it was – I really wish that it would have opened up in the third quarter instead of the fourth because I had the over, but it was a fun game to watch.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people, I think, what was it, riveting 6-3 at halftime. A lot of people were a little bummed out that they had taken the over. Wasn't incredibly high either. I think it was only 43 points.
43 was what I got.
Yeah. Well, it seemed like because we had actually, when I was talking to Matt Bruning on Wednesday about it, the last time the Ravens played the Dolphins was a couple of years ago. That was kind of Lamar Jackson's huge coming out party. That was, week 1. They hung, I think it was 48, 50 points.
It was 53-10.
Yeah, so it seemed like they were tracking toward something big, just did not quite get there.
No.
Hey, back, Daniel. So before we dive into some of the Week 10 preview, we thought since we are at about the midway point in the season, that we would do our power rankings. So what we're going to do is give you each of our top 3 from the AFC and the NFC. So we'll start with the AFC, which might be the weaker conference. John, you want to give your top 3?
Absolutely. So there's not going to be too many people that disagree with the Titans are the best team in the AFC.
Shockingly. Props to our friend Timmy.
And, without Derrick Henry, it's not going to be easy going forward, but I think they'll hold on. Second, I have the Bills. I think that was everybody's Super Bowl pick. I know it was yours at the beginning of the year. They're still a really good team. They've just not played that way in some games. And then I've got the New England Patriots. Their point differential is huge. They're still coached by Bill Belichick. Defense is playing good. The schemes are just amazing that they throw out there. Damian Harris has showed up. Mac Jones is being good enough to win. Right now, that's good enough to be third in the AFC.
Yeah, and they have a huge game this week with the Browns. It's going to be a very interesting matchup because whoever wins that game really puts themselves there. Both those teams are 5-4, going to put themselves in a good position to make a run. So, when it comes to me for the AFC, it's the Titans at number 1 right now. And that's probably been the most surprising result. I thought they'd be a playoff team. I thought they'd win their division. I didn't think they'd be great, but they just continuously defy expectations and beat all comers. They beat the Chiefs. They beat the Bills. They've swept the Colts. They lose Derrick Henry, go to Los Angeles to face a super team, and you're like, they're going to get waxed. No, they waxed the Rams. I mean, I guess it's time to stop doubting the Titans at this point in time. Number 2 is the Bills. Gives me pause. They've had a couple of groaner losses, including last week's subpar effort against the Jaguars. But when you get down to trying to power rank the AFC, I think it's tough because we've seen all these, the AFC West and the AFC North all have, every team is above 500, but none of them has exactly been incredible. So Buffalo, I still believe in the talent. They were my preseason Super Bowl pick. I'm still hoping that comes to fruition. My third team, I'm going to stick with the Baltimore Ravens. They really crushed my hopes and dreams last night with a incredibly flat performance, but we were consistent. Aside from the Titans, who had that weird loss to the Jets when almost everyone on their team was out with injury, all of the AFC teams, just about the time you want to believe in them, have kind of given up the ghost and had a bad loss. We've seen that a couple times in the NFC too, especially with the Rams. Just about the time you're ready to crown them, they, like last week, but maybe that's about Tennessee and not about their competition. But the AFC, we've seen all these teams, the Chiefs have struggled mightily. The Chargers have been up and down, clinging to wins. The Raiders just went in and got creamed by the Giants last week. I love the Denver Broncos. I don't believe in the Denver Broncos. We saw Cincinnati seem like they had the best record in the AFC for 2 weeks and then have gotten creamed ever since. It's hard to believe in Noodle Arm Pittsburgh. So the AFC, it's easy to pick the Titans at 1, and then after that, there's a lot of praying. I think that's involved, which is a little bit inverse of the NFC. I'll lead off on the NFC. For me, I'm going out of leave. I'm still saying the Rams are number 1 just because of that roster and because of what they can do. And they obviously added to that with Odell Beckham. We'll see what that does. I wasn't incredibly high on the signing for fantasy. It might be okay from an NFL standpoint, but they have a lot of defensive pieces. They've had the experience. I think that's going to make a difference. 2 for me is still the Packers. Aaron Rodgers might have to spend some time adjusting his tinfoil hat, but when he's out there, that team's still pretty good. They're still the team that rolled in with no wide receivers and beat Arizona in Arizona on a short week. And then number 3 for me is Tampa Bay, the defending Super Bowl champions. They've had a lot of injuries. They had a strange loss, I guess, to the Saints right before their bye week, but I think they're still up there. The NFC, I don't know how you feel, but aside from the Titans, there are 5 teams in the NFC that I would put over anyone other than Tennessee in the AFC, because I still think Dallas is a good team despite last week, and Arizona has the best record in football. I'm not sure I entirely believe in their coaching staff, but what are your top 3 in the NFC?
The NFC, I've got the Rams 1. I almost bumped them down because they signed Odell Beckham, but that would have legitimately been my only reason. 2, I have the Bucks. Never bet against Brady. That's that's what I got there. And it might not be. I mean, the Rams have Cooper Kupp. They have Robert Woods. Everybody talks about them because they're playing real well. The Bucks have Godwin. They've got Evans. They've got Antonio Brown when he's healthy. They've got Gronk when he's healthy, Brate when he's not. Then they've got Lenny coming out of the backfield, Rojo supporting him. they're just solid in their defense. As long as you don't throw the ball on them, they're pretty much unstoppable. So they just have to convince the other team not to throw. And then
or blitz them out of it.
right, that too. And then I've got the Cards. I am a 49ers fan, so stacking two teams from the NFC West in here, makes me feel better about our record right now.
Yeah, and the Cardinals, it was a tough omission for me. I've been impressed with what they've done, and like I said, I think the NFC is a stronger conference overall. I don't know if I 100% believe in their coach and in the clutch. The one really tight, really competitive, really important game we've seen them play so far was that I would say would be that Green Bay game. And it was not – there was a lot of self-inflicted wounds, and we saw that last year. I think the reason they didn't quite make the playoffs was some self-inflicted wounds. So I guess they're more of a position where I need them to prove it. We're going to wrap up this segment by giving our mid-season award frontrunners. We're going to give a NFL MVP, an NFL Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, essentially, and Coach of the Year. Why don't you lead off and give us yours?
Okay. So my MVP, Tom Brady. Never bet against Brady. He's lighting it up, and I think there's a voter bias towards him. He's got that Jordan effect where everybody wants to see him do good or they hate him. There's not really any in between for Brady. Rookie of the Year, Naji Harris. Do I really need to talk about that? The guy's nuts. Just an amazing pick by the Steelers. Coach of the Year, Vrabel. His team wasn't expected to be where they're at right now, and he's just doing a phenomenal job getting there, and I see him keeping him there.
Yeah, so we have the same Coach of the Year, Mike Vrabel, because what they've done. Their Achilles heel last year too was arguably defense, and I think they've improved that in some ways. They did a lot of player turnover, and they've made some moves. We have the same Rookie of the Year, Naji Harris. It's tough. I like what Jamar Chase has done, but the last couple of weeks we've kind of seen him disappear. He's been a little more boom or bust. If there's more consistency, I think he'll make it close. Same with Pitts. We've seen a couple of monster games. Mac Jones quietly having a successful season, but I think Najee Harris has made a huge difference for the Steelers and that Steelers offense. He's going to have a hard time not grabbing it. But for me, MVP, he was my preseason MVP pick, and I'm sticking with it, Matthew Stafford. We have wondered what would happen if that guy got on a team with maybe better coaching and better overall players. And we've seen the Rams have been a very good team. A couple of stumbles, last week they didn't have the greatest week against Tennessee, but I think they've been a very solid team. I think we both had them atop our power rankings, and Stafford has made a big difference. You feel differently about the Rams with him there than we did with Jared Goff. And it's been nice as somebody who's thought he had talent for a long time to see him doing well. I think I picked him to be my MVP last year when I was all in on Detroit. So I'm just going to keep picking him until, damn it, it happens.
I've had him for years in fantasy. I love the guy.
All right, I'm going to transition to the games of the week. I do this segment every week. I'll give you one out of the early window Sunday, late window Sunday, and then we will look at the night game and Monday Night Football. I'll give you my thoughts, and then, John, feel free to jump in at the end and let us know what you think. So my morning window game of the week, the early window, the Atlanta Falcons, 4-4, a feisty 4-4, coming off an upset win over the Saints, heading to play the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys are 6-2. coming off kind of a really flat performance and a loss. I think they're going to bounce back. If the playoffs started today, the Atlanta Falcons would actually be in the playoffs. So for those thinking this isn't really playoff relevant, suddenly it has become playoff relevant. Both of them have some decent offenses. Curious to see how they stack up. The late window game Sunday during the day for me is Seattle Seahawks at the Green Bay Packers. It looks like we're tracking to get both quarterbacks back. It looks like Russell Wilson is going to return from that floppy finger incident. The rod that was put in there has been pulled out. Looks like he's going to be back. And Aaron Rodgers, it seems like he's tracking. He can't officially come off the COVID list until Saturday night, which means you're really going to have to be watching on Saturday and Sunday. But it seems like all signs are pointing to them being back after Green Bay lost to the Chiefs last week, and with the Seahawks being 3-5 in a precarious position. Both these teams really need a win. Two stout quarterbacks. I think that's going to be a fun matchup. The Sunday night game has a lot of intrigue for the AFC West. It's the Kansas City Chiefs, currently sitting at 5-4, at the Las Vegas Raiders, currently sitting at 5-3. It looks like we will probably get our first glimpse of Deshaun Jackson in a Raiders uniform. That's interesting. The Raiders have played the Chiefs incredibly tough the last couple of years, including beating them last year. The Chiefs have been struggling. The Raiders actually have a better record. Everyone in the AFC West has 5 wins. The only difference is that the Raiders and the Chargers have had their bye week, and they're only 5-3. The other two are 5-4. So this has massive implications for the playoffs, especially in that division. And finally, the Monday Night Football game. I know that John will be watching this one. The Los Angeles Rams. We know we're probably going to see Von Miller, who they acquired in trade. I doubt we see Odell Beckham Jr., but they are heading in to play San Francisco. And you know who's been the number 1 quarterback in fantasy the last 2 weeks? That would be Mr. Jimmy Garoppolo. For all the crap that we deal in, he is putting up fantasy points. He's Blake Bortling his way to our hearts. Will that continue? This is, in my opinion, make or break for the 49ers. I'll get your opinion here in a minute, John. But I think if they can't get a win here and they drop to 3-6, given the landscape in the NFC, it's going to be almost impossible to come back to the playoffs.
Yeah. So you say I'm going to be watching that game.
Through fingers?
Oh, man. That's. I think it's going to be a massacre, and it makes me sad. But maybe Shanahan gets around to actually playing Trey Lance, which would be neat. So
if the 49ers don't win, do you think we're into Trey Lance? Because they'll be 3-6, given the landscape. Feels like it's almost impossible to bounce. I mean, it's mathematically they're not out, but it would feel difficult to bounce back to the playoffs. Do you look at Trey Lance and see what you can get?
I mean, they have to. If they don't start playing Trey Lance soon, at the end of the season, they're going to start losing jobs because they paid an arm, a leg, and their firstborn child to get the guy. He's supposed to be the future. Jimmy G is just running out the string until he gets pulled. He's played good the last 2 weeks, but I don't see there's any chance for my Niners to get a win there.
So let me ask you this: do you think Shanahan could potentially be on the hot seat? I was surprised. I think it was a couple of weeks ago when they were in a primetime game. NBC had a graphic that 4 out of his 5 years he's rolled into week 5 under 500. We think of him as this kind of successful guy. They were in a Super Bowl, but aside from that Super Bowl season, I guess they haven't really had a lot of success.
Yeah, Shanahan was obviously a big name hire, similar to another guy, Harbaugh. Harbaugh took us, to a Super Bowl. He won the NFC, I think, another year. Won the NFC by record, not by performance, because they didn't win that NFC championship game. Did really well, and then one bad season, quarterback controversy, he's out the door. I see that if Shanahan doesn't get Trey Lance under center quick, even if he absolutely, doesn't look ready, if he looks any kind of ready by the end of the season, which there's, another 7 games, then I think Shanahan is okay. It comes into next season, but if he doesn't get Lance on the field, I don't know if he makes it to next season, because he's not putting out a good product right now.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at. You're right. They gave up so much to get him, and that's going to be the big thing. All right. Well, we'll transition away from games of the week to sit starts for week 10. I just realized I forgot to retitle it. But why don't you go ahead and give us your starts for the week first?
Okay. I've got Dak Prescott. I think that he bounces back this week. He's playing the Falcons. They're so on defense. So I see him really putting the pedal to the metal on this one, and making it look like a good win to put the Cowboys back in that, top 3 perspective. Then I've got James Conner. Not the greatest matchup going against the Panthers. They're really good against the run, but he's been managing to put up decent numbers all season long, to good numbers. Like, he played real well last week. So, I mean, let's roll the dice on him, see what he can do. He's going to be, Benjamin's going to get some work, but Connor's definitely going to be the guy in this one. Deontay Johnson, I love Deontay Johnson. He was my all-in guy last year, and he hasn't disappointed. And, they're playing the Lions, so there's that. And then at tight end, I have Dawson Knox. He's kind of a fringe guy. Didn't want to go for somebody easy like George Kittle. He's got, a reasonable matchup. The Jets have been playing defense somehow. They
do have Robert Saleh, so think that he was going to rub off eventually.
Yeah, so they're playing good defense. Obviously, I don't think the Jets are going to win this game, but the Jets win games, and why not, knock off the number. What do we got him at? The number 2 team in the AFC. Why not? The season's been crazy. I don't see the Jets winning, but I think Dawson Knox is going to get some work there.
If the Jets and the Patriots win, you really have to start wondering if the Bills can even win their own division, because there's a half game, I believe, that separates them. The Bills are 5-3 for all of what we think about them,
Yeah.
And the Patriots are 5-4. So if, you actually could see it end up where it flips and New England goes in front by half a game with 6 games or so to play. That's it seemed like Buffalo had it on lock, and even though the Patriots haven't been dominant, it is starting to get a little bit closer.
Yeah, and I've got the Patriots at my 3rd best team in the AFC. They're in position. They just have to take advantage. And Buffalo doesn't really have a run game, which kind of hurts them.
Yeah.
And the Patriots have that. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out.
Yeah, so for my starts this week, I'm going with Russell Wilson. I think he plays through the first 4 weeks of the season. When he played complete games, he was QB10. I think he goes back to being a QB1. Very important game and I think he's going to want to come out and give his best. He's been really committed to kind of getting out there and showing what he has. My running back start, I'm going with Dearness Johnson. Nick Chubb and Demetric Felton ended up on the COVID list. It's possible they clear. I guess we'll have a real good chance today. And if Chubb comes back, this is going to look dumb, but I'm banking on Chubb not playing. Dearness Johnson was RB4 in week 7 when he had the job. And I think they are going to have to lean on him heavily as they're going to play. New England running is the heart of what Cleveland wants to do. He's also showed that he's been a decent pass catcher. So I'm pushing my chips in on Johnson this week. My wide receiver start, I just changed it up. It was going to be Chris Godwin, but I went with Mike Evans because now Chris Godwin is giving me some concerns. I guess he tweaked an ankle last week, and I still think he's going to play, but I'm going to hedge my bets because it looks like Antonio Brown not going to play. He's still been in a walking boot this week. Rob Gronkowski also looks like he's not going to play. So the bye week didn't magically cure the ailments for those guys. But who's for sure going to play is Mike Evans, and especially if Godwin sits. But even if Godwin plays, I thought both Godwin and Evans were going to eat this week. Washington's defensive back end is not what you would call good or maybe even present. And then my tight end start this week is going to be Pat Freiermuth. He has been red hot. He's tight end 15 overall in the year, but the last 3 weeks he's tight end 4 overall. Ben's really looking for him. Juju's not coming back. Claypool feels like more of a big play option. Deontay Johnson is a possession receiver and the guy that he goes to a lot, but Freiermuth is a guy they're looking for in the red zone. It doesn't take a lot for you to be relevant at tight end.
No, I love Freiermuth. I made a sneaky play in one of my dynasty leagues to pull him 3 weeks ago. So he came on just in time.
So we're going to transition to sits, and I will lead off here, and then John will give you his sits. My quarterback sit is Jimmy Garoppolo. I did mention that he was QB1 the last 2 weeks. I know that's probably pushing some people to think that he keeps that train going. Not certain that remains the same when they play the Rams. I think if Von Miller can play, they're going to try to bring the heat with Miller and Donald and all the other guys on that front. And he's still going to be throwing against Jalen Ramsey. I do not have him as a top 12 play at the position this week. My running back sit is Adrian Peterson. The guy's incredible. He's a Hall of Famer in waiting if he ever decides to retire. One of the best to play the game. I get that he's getting kind of a plum role in Tennessee, and we want to believe in him because he's been magic. Last week, he was only running back 35, and that was thanks to a touchdown that he got at the goal line. You have to hope if you're playing him that he falls into the goal line again, but he is not a top 24 running back option for me. He's maybe got RB3 upside, but also he only ran for 21 yards on 10 carries. Maybe he gets more carries than that. Maybe he gets a little more yardage than that. I just don't think that he is going to roll out there and be 2007 Adrian Peterson for you. My wide receiver sit is Elijah Moore. I like the talent. I was excited as anyone to see him break out last week. It looks like Corey Davis might be back this week. They're also playing Buffalo. I need to see more consistency in being a focal point of the passing game before I believe that Elijah Moore is there and is a bankable top 24 play every week. And my tight end sit is Noah Fant. I love the talent. His role on Denver has been curious to me. Albert O is back. They seem to be splitting. Teddy actually seems to like dumping it off to Albert O more than going to Fant. They also have 3 receivers they're trying to feed, 2 running backs they're trying to feed. And, by the way, Denver isn't the most high-volume passing offense in general. So I think Noah Fant's probably a tight end too. He might have tight end 1 talent, but I am not convinced he gets up in the top 12.
Yeah. I love Peterson, but 100% agree with you. I mean, he's no Brady. So,
well, it's just hard, because he's probably not going to take a lot of the passing game work. And again, 10 carries for 21 yards, we wouldn't be talking about him at all, except for he fell in the end zone and his team won big, and that ends up vaulting him to closer to 8 or 9 points.
Well, I think the Titans are going to give him those goal line carries. Obviously, they brought him in for something, and he's going to get work. He's getting familiar with the offense. I think that he's going to be a little fatigued this week because he's not used to playing games. He played last week. I don't think he's up to snuff, and that's why I wouldn't start him either. But his day will come. Give him time. Well, for my sits, I'm going to start out with Tannehill. He manages the game. He does what needs to be done. He hands the ball off. He throws those underneath passes. For some reason, he doesn't realize that he has, 2 all-world receivers out there. And I think that, that'll continue this week. I just don't really like the guy being a top 12 quarterback, basically ever. We'll go with that. Running back, James Robinson, he's banged up. Even if he gets the start, I don't see him getting those, 25 to 30 touches that he does sometimes in that offense. And I don't like that guy either. So
how could you not believe in the powerhouse Jacksonville offense?
Exactly. That's my mistake. We'll move James Robinson to RB1. Now, if I had Robinson in any of my leagues and had any other options, I don't think I'd start him this week. Wide receiver, DJ Moore. Who's throwing him the ball? Is it going to be Darnold? I mean, at this point in time, they might as well just trot Cam out there with no idea of the
Darnold's
offense.
out for 4 weeks.
That's right. Yes, the shoulder thing.
It's PJ Walker this week, which makes you even less excited.
Yes. So, PJ Walker, Darnold with a broken shoulder, Cam Newton.
Also with a broken shoulder.
Yes. So who's going to throw the ball? Maybe they run some sort of, pitch into the backfield to a receiver or give it to CMC and let him throw. But who's going to throw the ball to him? I think DJ Moore is an okay talent. I don't think he's exceptional, and I think he falls on his face this game. Tight end. Can I go back and pick Gesicki? Is that okay? Knowing what happened,
had to have savaged so many people. If you tell me Miami's going to beat Baltimore, I'm thinking, man, great news for my shares of Mike Gesicki, who seemed like the only bankable fantasy player. Not so fast, says Miami. We don't got to give him the ball.
No. Well, that's the thing. They threw it to him like 10 times.
They threw it to the dirt in and around him 10 times.
Well, there were a couple that touched his hands. They were just nowhere near where he could catch them. And the reason he's been doing so well is he's been pulling those balls down. No matter who's throwing it to him, he's emerging as a really good tight end option. It's just a matter of who's throwing him the ball. But Gesicki was the easy way out. We know that he, had nothing happen yesterday. I'm going to go with George Kittle. Jimmy G has been number one quarterback in the past 2 weeks. Yay! They're playing the Rams. Rams are pretty good at defense. How is Kittle still banged up? How is he going to maintain volume? How is Jimmy G going to throw the ball from his back? I don't see, especially not, a top 3 tight end. He might sneak into the top 12 with a touchdown. But I'm not putting any faith in him this week.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting game for sure. Well, It's time to transition to some bets for the week. And even though I don't make bets, Ricky did give me his bets that he likes. So I will. It's interesting. We had that fun back and forth about the Panthers. Ricky is apparently a Panthers believer, and he's also apparently a Titans believer. So this can be interesting. Ricky's bets that he highlighted, he wants the Panthers over 1.5 touchdowns, and he liked the Panthers at plus 10.5 this week. So he's kind of pushing in on the Panthers offense. I had asked him a follow-up question. He said he thinks P.J. Walker is going to play well, which would be interesting because if P.J. Walker looks good, this might be like Cam Newton going to the Panthers, might be like Joe Flacco going to the Jets. Thanks for your interest. The position is filled. Other bets he likes Tannehill over 1.5 touchdown passes, so he's squaring off against John's sit recommendation there.
To be fair, Ricky absolutely loves Ryan Tannehill. Might be his favorite quarterback ever.
I'm just appreciating that this week his bets are squarely going against you. Usually I'm the one that incurs this kind of face-to-face battle. He also likes the Titans and Saints over 43 points. Hey, it worked out with Baltimore and Miami. Why couldn't it work out there? Although I do think that game may have a better chance than last night. The other bet that he liked this week, he liked the Packers money line. He likes the Packers, obviously, over the Seahawks. Did you have any bets that you wanted to highlight?
Yeah. I've got a few. I think that the Falcons play well enough to cover 9.
After seeing the Cowboys get trucked by 30 points by Denver, it's kind of almost impossible to believe that they're almost double-digit favorites over anyone this week.
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking at. I mean, I do think Dak bounces back. I'm kind of wishy-washy on this game, but you can guarantee my money's going to be on the Falcons. They've got an offense that's working. Obviously, it's hurt by Ridley, but it's working. Cordero Patterson is the guy anyway. He's the number 1 target. So, he's a must start. But I just don't see the Cowboys going from what they did last week to blowing the Falcons out. Next one, Patriots minus 2.5. So we were talking about how this Patriots Brown game has so much riding on it. With the Bills game looped in there. I see the Patriots coming out and just waxing the Browns. Baker plays better with no Odell. They've got him out. Dearness Johnson's doing well. The Patriots have a really good defense, and Mac Jones is a competent NFL quarterback, which is more than I can say for a lot of teams. So I've got Patriots minus 2.5 at home. They typically give you 3 points, a 3-point swing for being at home. So they've got the Browns as a baby favorite. I don't see it happening. You don't just walk into Patriots Town and expect to come out unscathed. I've got the Bucs minus 10. Never bet against Tom Brady. It's not something you want to do. Washington, they've got Heineken. I know that's not his name, but that's what I call him because it's funnier. They got
close
Heineken.
Enough.
Yeah, exactly. He's throwing to McLaurin. They might get Logan Thomas back this week. Antonio Gibson's still broken, which is sad. And it's just, what is Washington doing that makes you think the Buccaneers won't win by 10 or more? I go with nothing, and that's another bet that I'm definitely going to place. And then I've got the Rams minus 4. I would take this at Rams minus 10. I'd probably take it at Rams minus 15. I my Niners are going to get squashed like a bug. And, we're going to be at home, which is that much more embarrassing. But you're going to hear a lot of we want Trey chants tonight because they're going to confuse Garoppolo, or not tonight, Monday night. They're going to confuse Garoppolo. He's going to go back to being the Jimmy G that we know. Rams defense is going to be amazing. Their offense is going to be amazing as long as Odell doesn't play. And I just, like I said, I'd go minus 15, and they're giving it to me at minus 4.
What's funny is you sound a little bit the way I felt about Denver going into Dallas last week. So, in a week where it defies expectations, I can't wait for our Tuesday morning discussions of a Rams 49ers 45-10 victory, and what that means for our power rankings. Means Jimmy G gets 2 more years.
Yeah. Oh God, that would ruin me. The Niners have no business winning any games for the rest of the year. They need to. I mean, what do they have? A second next year? They want it to be as early as possible.
I don't know that it behooves them that much to tank down, right? Because they traded all their first-round picks.
They did, but their team, my Niners, we suck. We've had a ton of injuries, which we somehow always do. But we need depth. So if we don't have a second next year, then we need that third rounder to be a high pick, fourth rounder to be a high pick, so on and so forth. Conditional, or compensatory. That's the word I'm looking for. Those picks. We need those picks. We need everything we can get because Harbaugh's missed a few times.
Doesn't this almost feel a little bit like a dynasty team that, in a rookie draft pushed, 3 years of the future in because they thought they were going to get that player at 103 that they needed that was going to win them a championship. And after finishing, 10th out of 12 teams, they're like, God, darn it.
Yes.
Basically the last decade of the Houston Texans.
Well, I mean, I just made you a grandfather trade for Antonio Gibson in the offseason when I give up like 2 or 3 firsts, something absolutely nuts. And
I think it was Josh Jacobs in a first. And Ruggs, which thanks for that.
No problem. Ruggs is obviously
on my roster.
Yeah. I've actually still got him on one team because I'm in first in that league. And I missed, 5 waiver pickups. And there's just nobody else on the wire. So he's an easy, I just plug him to dump him every week. And hopefully I get rid of him sometime.
Yep. Well, that's going to do it for the football portion of today's show. But we are going to wrap up with Movie Corner. If anybody's out there that has any questions, feel free to throw that in. If I see them come up in the next couple of minutes, I will get them up there. As I mentioned, Ricky is at AFI Fest in Los Angeles this weekend. So you can be following him. Once again, that's at Ricky Valero _. He's got a thread going on his account where he's going to be posting every one of the films he sees. He's getting to see quite a few interesting releases. So be sure to watch for that coverage. He's put on a couple of interesting tweets about Los Angeles. Apparently it's hot there. That was my takeaway from one of his first tweets. Said something about an oven. So yeah, California is one place in the country that doesn't really recognize what you might call fall or winter or anything in the neighborhood of seasons. So it's a concrete jungle out there. Big movies that came out that you may have seen that we saw I saw the movie Passing that came out on Netflix on Wednesday. It was pretty good. I also watched Clifford the Big Red Dog with my wife. That is about what you would expect. It's streaming for free on Paramount Plus. If you have kids and you're looking for something fun to do this weekend, you can jump in right there. The big one from last week was Eternals. I'm a big Marvel fan. I went and saw that. I thought it was pretty good. I know you saw that, John. You were not as taken.
I wasn't. It was, excuse me, it was too much going on for too few people. They were trying to introduce a new supergroup of 10 people. What was it, 5 of them, maybe 6 of them actually have a part in the movie. I didn't like the battle scenes. The movie was beautiful. They filmed everything on location. Instead of using the Marvel green screens that they normally do. Film was beautiful. The idea behind it was okay. It all depended on how the movie was made, and I didn't like it. Hated Angelina Jolie's character. They could have done a lot better there.
Feels like she's hardly present in there too.
Yeah. It's like I want to say the 2 most famous people walking into that movie were probably Angelina Jolie and Kit Harington. And out of the heroes, the 5 or 6 that actually have a part out of the 10, Angelina Jolie is least involved. And then Kit Harington, he's in the first 5 minutes of a 2.5-hour movie, and then he pops back up at the end for the last 2 minutes.
It's more like 10 or 15, but
it felt like, just comparing it to the bulk of the movie.
And I will say, if you go see it, you should stay all the way to the end because there's an end credit sequence that gives you an idea of what maybe Kit Harington will be doing in the future. I was going to ask you about this one. So today is Disney Plus Day. It's the anniversary of when they launched. So they have added a couple of movies that are open to stream for anyone that just has a base subscription. Jungle Cruise added, and that one was a real fun one. But our other Marvel movie that came out in September, Shang-Chi, is now up there available to stream for anyone. Did you get a chance to see that one?
Oh, if a Marvel movie comes out, I see it the day before the actual release every single time. Loved Shang-Chi. It was an old school karate flick with Marvel overtones. And I thought the dialogue was great. The fight scenes are fantastic. And the plot carried them right along. 99% of your movie fans are not going to know Shang-Chi. Honestly, I didn't know Shang-Chi ahead of time. Introduces him well. It fits the flow of the movie. And then it just goes nuts from there, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I liked Eternals more than you, but I still have it probably middle of the pack for Marvel. Shang-Chi was one that really surprised me. I liked it a lot. It's still in my top 10 for the year. So that is streaming free on Disney Plus. The other thing on Disney Plus that dropped today, if you were so inclined, a brand new version of Home Alone. Ricky saw it and he reviewed it. So you can find the link on his Twitter. He had a very fun description of what the experience of watching that movie is like. I won't ruin that for you if you haven't seen it. The other big release this week is Belfast opens nationwide. Ricky has seen it. You can find a link on his site. I'm going this weekend. Very excited to see that potential Best Picture nominee. But
I went and saw, I don't know if you guys talked about this previously, Addams Family 2. Okay. It was, I took my daughter. We watched the first one, Halloween time. And then I got tickets to see the second one a little bit after Halloween. It was fun. I think it was better than the first one.
I like the first one. I've seen it on stream. I just haven't got it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of prestige ones that I've been trying to wedge in.
Oh,
between that and football games and trying to remain married, it's stretches.
Yeah. Well, I spoil my kiddo. So she's actually also my Marvel date. We go see them all together. And Adam's Family too. I recommend it if you have kids. I mean, it's fun. Watch the first one first, and then jump into the second one, and you'll laugh while the movie's on.
Oh, and Charlize Theron, Oscar Isaac among the voice cast. So they went all out. But definitely exciting, some of those things. And there are some great games this week, or potentially great games on paper. Let's hope they actually turn into be great games. Last week, not only surprising results, but a lot of blowouts. Last night did not get us off to a good start, but hopefully the rest of Week 10 will be a little bit better. I look forward to capturing your thoughts after Jimmy Garoppolo throws for 500 yards and George Kittle goes for 300, 3 bills and 3 touchdowns as the 49ers just decimate the Rams.
Oh gosh,
that's the way the NFL is tracking right now.
Absolutely. I didn't check. Was it very possible that the highest scorer in the game last night was the Dolphins defense?
I think it probably was. There was no great individual offensive performances, even among Miami. It might be actually Miami's kicker, because didn't he make like 6 field goals?
He had quite a few.
I think Jason Sanders was probably your fantasy MVP from last night.
Miami's D had 17 points. Mark Andrews had 18.3. So.
Oh yeah, Andrews delivered quietly. Let me see it. It was like the scoring game leaders. Oh, I thought Miami's kicker would have done more. Maybe it's because I don't have kicker scoring in this.
Sanders only had 3, and 31 was his longest. So he got 9 points.
Just letting everybody down. Everybody down. I thought he had more. I didn't realize. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, because I forgot they had their defensive touchdown.
Yeah, they had the defensive touchdown. They went for 2 and missed that, so he only got 2 extra points. So that's 11.
You can't see it if you're just listening to audio, but that was a riveting moment as we both looked at our phones to relook up the stats of a game that was an atrocity to watch.
Oh yeah, it was.
With that, we will wrap up for the week. John, thanks for being here. Tell us where people can find you and what they can look out for you next.
I'm at iHeart Caravans on the Music City Drive-In Twitter feed. I am iHeart Caravans on Twitter. I'm iHeart Caravans on UStadium, Fantasy Life app, probably other places too. But if you want to, any kind of advice or just a chat, reach out to me at iHeart Caravans on Twitter.
Yep, and you write a great column for us, News or Noise, most weeks, and should be coming out. Look at that in the next couple of weeks. Yes, working on it today. I'm sure there will be jokes, maybe some praise of Tom Brady.
Oh gosh, you have to throw something in about Brady because you can't bet against.
I've seen many of your thoughts on Odell Beckham Jr., so I can't wait for.
It doesn't rhyme as well as Juju is doo-doo, but I'm actually further against Odell. I'll come up with something catchy.
You feel about as strongly about him as Ricky does about Tannehill, so
maybe stronger. Maybe.
All right, well, and you can follow me at Nighthawk7734. I have stuff that publishes almost every day. Today, I should have a recap of the latest episode of the morning show this afternoon, and also the Friday 5, where I look at the 5 games from the Sunday slate that I'm most excited to see, which should not turn out well for me last week. We'll see if we do better this week. They were not what you call competitive. But for now, take it easy and enjoy Week 10.
See you guys.